thank you to Andy, really, for having us. I just want to say that, I don't know, I feel like I'm like having this weird oceanic feeling of like being around family right now, in like a good way, because I hate hanging out with my relatives. But I love Dottie, so I'm not going to give you any like praise in front of everyone. But it was just really beautiful. No, I love you. You're the best. Come on. But it was so beautiful to hear both the readers read. I didn't know your work before, and it was really wonderful. And Kevin, I had never heard you read before, and I couldn't help thinking of, I never got to see James Schuyler read, one of my favorite poets, and people say that when he finally gave like a public reading, it was one of the highlights of their life to be able to hear them read it, and it was just, he was so moving, and I can't help but associate you with him very much, so it was great to hear you read tonight. So you guys are very lucky to have him. Hopefully he reads here all the time, but I mean everywhere, Andes, non-Andes. So I'm just going to read,
For the people in the back.
Say it again?
Do you mind speaking up for the people in the back?
Yes, I will. If I were tickled. I'm going to read 3 very short poems. Like little squiggly hairs. And then I'm going to read you got a problem back there? And then I'm going to read a longer poem that will test your patience. But I've never read it out loud, so I feel like now's the time to do it.
Oh, yes.
So, okay? It's the title poem, but we'll get to that in a second. So this is how the book begins, and it's one of those little poems. Cathedral. To write about one thing, you must first write about another. To speak of the death of King Charles V, you must first speak of the Ho Chi Minh dynasty. To understand the rotund ministries of, say, moonlight, you must first be blind and understand fencing. As for me, I understand discomfort. It falls in the pinched, early, blue bowl light of dawn. I speak often, and only erringly, of football, racket clubs, and the general way of the world. You go out for coffee, you come back another person.
Can you see?
Yeah. And you know what? This dim lighting is kind of turning me on.
Yeah.
As it should.
Get it going.
I mean,
Keep it going.
really turning me on. Okay. So this is a poem called Lasky, I'm reading up here. This is a poem called Farfaccia Stupenda, which is Latin for you got a really big fat face. It's not even a funny poem. Farfaccia Stupenda. In panels of summer we drive, coursing and turning with simple time, remembering which notes to paw over, the poor bird of conversation, the good chances we received, perhaps a proof of La Fontaine. This time out, I think of seed raisins and bottled gas, the bad idea I had once for 6 years, racking my brains with inadvertent letters, fictitious persons. I confess I got lost here and there, as New York is like that sometimes, thinking of imagery of purpled cypress as we leisure until afternoon dawns. Electricity, simple speech, these are the sparse and rough requirements to stand in the pebbled lot with you watching random things fall into smile, considering the advice of a humid loom, all these matters of radial color, schemes of highbrow living that used to interest you.
Beautiful.
Okay, thank you. And then this is the last of the little poems. It's called Proud Hand. There are few cliffs here, but the largesse of cold hours. Lightness of breath maintains the western skies. Winter painters, this marble path. What else calls to a carpet of bees and burnt air? Child of the wind-honored Yucatan, The sea's feet are your unhappy exhibition. The prospecting pictures grow, but gravity grows too, steep as blue sea salt, red as the gummed grass of wildflowers. And then the final poem I'm going to read has an epigraph from Henri Rousseau, one of my favorite painters, and I don't speak French, so I'm going to just give you what I think it means. Nothing gives me more pleasure than to go out into the countryside and just paint what I see. The Late Parade. A glitter in the dromedary dawn with cold rubles, the old cyclone boasts, come what come may, sir. Like a silly curlicue, for instance, that you called August. It too had a way, prescient and plunderable, a mix of corsage and assemblage, or coconut, if you can imagine it. A wax cylinder in the wind was carrying us chevalierly through the alphabets of petite longings, our gumption of restless itching. If we stop here, it's because here it's thick dusk, streaming ribbons from the sun, yellow fields of sky matriculating without thinking. Slowly the aperture goes bronze, squinting in the marble harbor, guffawing, crocheting a speech. The morning buildings are stiff-sugared with upper lip. Clipped romance butters our pockets with comic book accents, pocked lingo and perfumed lint. Yesterday the dazzlement washed us away like laundry boats bedraggled toward a ventilated hexagon of sea. Its coils and plungers, its plumber's tape amid lulling processions of joggers. One spring patio is for rodeos niggled with iodine fingers, weaved tapestries inside vast Tuileries. But that reminds me, how exactly do words form brittle histories, rummaging a basement heap, a guttural section, suppose, or an anatomical plane, a slice of what should be and has been said but wasn't, like some yogurty radio static giving way assuredly to sweet hosannas. We bench press archways with our eyes, recalling a time when we actually had eyes. Yes, that was eons ago, gazing inside at TV bunkers as shock and awe hunkered down for supper, a roseate, ghostly assembly line producing but bruise. I could use a good one, come to think of it, and nickeled and dimed, halter-top orders rise, ferries aglint with restaurant dementias, some happenstance meant to be talked about. We'll have to let be, with addled doo-wop and haughty pince-nez, alone here in the Riverwalk, you buoy it all. You, walking stick, are emptier in a crowd, though not as empty as one. Amateur, I'm watching your surveys shrug to the ground, dear and ruthless. The fiesta has begun, and waffling in the breeze, this is the time to reprogram an ideogram or two, flinging your pants off for stoic sleepiness. Dreams have the following architecture: metallic substance, pursuant laws of mineralness, vague plunder of booty, plastic robe of pearls, sesame pirates of our wonderfully dull childhood, where a perverted man usurps your surname and wanders the lawn sprinkling reindeer tears. Just as to love is to doze, so what I crave is to nose about. I, however, in 17th century fashion, stare at your chaps of frolicking gold, apparel that includes a spigot, which cargoes some mumbling grudge in its hull quarters to Tribeca. There we can arrange a spotted coordinate for the star, a straight pass that was kindred and mortal. Now resume your pose. Walk, rub, walk. It only takes a brochure in your palms to let me see native Indias and corpulent Africas open gently your cornet wrists, your marigold-clumped brow. People should be able to account for something in what they desire, or they roam forever, secluded under Western bandanas. This leads to reclusiveness, extreme passivity, pus ochre, and the like. General spiels of uneasiness. I should know, happening to be one myself, a curmudgeon crayfish like Fantomas. A board was laid out. It had your legs on it, suspended scissor-like. a mode I knew from albums. Speaking of which, one bum was overheard saying to the other, "I like your bum." Quite moving mumbo-jumbo, really. One door slices us to the next. The tunnels funnel us into faraway space with pristine shops. You snicker to friends across absolute distance. They always ask me the fable of my life, the accurate one, replete with liquid bone to pick at or throw as testimony. I prefer sassafras to creme brulee on any given day. Brutal and cunning but unknown, I love cyclists. So a cloud curtailed me and I awoke horizon. The result of so much expressiveness cannot be denied, especially honey, figures of rain, buttressing cheeks with small change, contingencies due, and this mosaic, someone just told me how to pronounce Giotto, that's right, sorry. A Giotto chapel will name our stone-braced embodiment. Neither reconditioning nor resurrection needed to become the possible. You once told me, first giving up, give up what? A stripper made in toothy and caustic, boring. We were literally boring holes in spy stations, calling this all a pipe dream, aka yourself, a something for our lips, sandwiched in stares, stuck in porta-johns, the kind of looking that isn't seen, the kind of consumption that's blindness. An igloo rug. It's not enough to be relative to example and talk art for the dear and near to us, picking the phone up one day and saying clearly but only, and? I take refuge in each skittery movement and moment when I'm not given or forced to dwell on the monument. Iron's the last bastion afforded to a materialist state. Next to the gentle gardens for a bit we argued. Polluted scales were a kind of resolution to wrestle us from ourselves. Though I kept noticing the way our lips pinched themselves accidentally, how vanity roped around our waists, delicate and burnt, as if dread had come into the room with a waltz on our breath. At such gestured pace, you induce a sigh. Yes, you ignorant child, those fireworks were yours. This time they were. Pyrotechnics fade. Experiments not talked about until today, in the skyrise of cabinets and windows of papers flustered from sunlight, rise like a goth girl costumed in hardened beeswax, whose tattoo reads, "Buried on the breath of dawn." Wonder needed, patois needed, monkey brains optional. Suitors needed, comforters needed, lactose tolerance optional. Spray-painted suits, undulating lanterns, scenes of frantic night, all for a checkbook that I would seize before surrendering my love of the real. One who will be for the future, if only to turn back his long and lioned head with remorse code, acknowledging acknowledgments. Like a magnet, we drifted in a boy's blink for years, not knowing we were drifting. It is always dusk here. Mechanical animals wait for us. We wait for each other. Buried-eyed and bituminous, a tortoise of waiting and wanting, mating and prey mantising. So what are you really interested in, Pythagoras? Things as they are or judgments? Careful, the truth's a pill, so chew before swallowing. Maybe it's just a Trump-Lowell effect on second thought. Even so, it is what it is, and what it is we must swallow. And we do. We do. Thank you guys so much.